Thank you.
Yes.
All right. I think everyone here has been here before, but is there anyone new who would like to introduce / reintroduce themselves to the group? Okay. The first item on our agenda is approval of the April 2022 minutes. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any objection to approving the minutes? Great. Minutes are approved. For the chair's report, the biggest thing that I will discuss in new business, I just want to get people thinking a little bit, is that this will be the last meeting that we are allowed to have 100% virtually. Starting in June, we have to have in-person meetings, at least for the committee members. We did pass a resolution to try to have hybrid meetings, meaning that the public would be able to Zoom in. That probably won't be set up though with equipment and space and such until September. So under new business, I am going to ask for some discussion around whether or not to have a June meeting. I will also disclose the office has already asked me if we're going to do that because we have to find a physical space to meet and host, and someone has to be at the office to let us in, et cetera, et cetera. So food for thought for June. For the record, I am in favor of hybrid meetings. I think the more people who participate in all of our meetings, the better, the more points of view, the livelier the discussion, the more well-rounded a decision we can come to. The only other thing I had for my chair report was just to, and again, for people to think about for a little bit. At one point, we had discussed having presenters at these meetings. I know a lot of other committees do that. I don't know if that's something this committee would be interested in doing. We talked about it. We said kind of, yeah, we did it once or twice. But if you are interested in presenting your organization or something you're doing, I know at the last full board meeting, iMentor was part of the public gallery. You know, having someone like them come in, I don't want, it will extend the meetings, which I'm absolutely fine with, because I'm pretty sure we hold the record for fastest meetings. But I don't want to just put things on the agenda to fill an agenda. If it's not going to be useful to everyone here, if there isn't, you know, a presenter or a topic that people want to know more about, then I don't think we should just be filling time. That's my personal opinion. I'm wrong every day. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong. But things for us to think about. Feel like I want to ask for questions, but I said we discuss it under new business, so I guess we'll wait. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns before I go to the committee priorities? Okay. The digital divide, we still have on our agenda as a priority. There hasn't been much movement. We haven't had much to report on this. It's something I've struggled with. I'm not sure the best way to move forward with this. So I think we should look at or think about how we can support bridging the digital divide for all of you guys. If there's something that you're seeing in your organizations that we can actually be helpful with, I really want to do that and support you guys in anything you're doing to bridge that divide. I want to be helpful, not sure the best way to do it. Does anyone have any thoughts about ways we can help as a community board?
Well, Madam Chair, I know that the administration, the new mayoral administration, has taken this on, and I actually think that they may have a point person on it. So I will, specifically on the digital divide, and I believe they're using similar terms to what we're using. I'll send an email to the board office to see if they can connect us with that, so that whatever we're doing, they know that, we're in support of it, and see how we can support the administration in doing that. Because I do recall seeing that they do have a push on it in a very specific, something that's tangible.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns on the digital divide?
Hey, Julia. Quick question. So I know I think it was the Biden administration capping the cost on internet for low income residents. Any idea sort of like what kind of impact that'll have in our community here?
I have my opinions. I'm not sure I have any specific facts or numbers for you. I know that most of the things that I've been watching were really targeted at like schools, and trying to address the digital divide there. I didn't see quite as much for like individuals in terms of accessing it. But that's definitely something that I can circle back to and make sure that I have the most current information.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Mr. Villaverde, is there an update on the forum that we've been trying to?
No, I believe with the MRTT going on, the marijuana regulation and taxation act, that a lot of the people we were going to hope to have are busy crafting that. So that's why I said that's probably something not for this board year.
Understandable. Do you think we should table it to like September, or maybe like?
Yeah, I think we should
November?
table it till September and come back and see where everybody's at that point. Because the regulation should be out, and that's a lot of the people who were going to be presenters are obviously for obvious reasons wrapped up in that process and getting that up and running. So I would say yes, September.
Okay. So the other thing is the Comeback Kid Award. We have several applications already. The issue that our committee uniquely has is because we're in the second half of the month, we meet after the full board meeting. I was wondering how folks felt about trying to meet early in September to make sure that we could, decide who the recipients of the Comeback Kid Award would be once we have, or if we decide to skip a June meeting, if we have a June meeting, we can do it then. But again, that would have to be, everyone would have to be in person. So food for thought. I don't know if we want to discuss that now, or do you have a bigger discussion about the June meeting and virtual meetings and in person and such? So let's do this. Let's jump a little bit ahead to the virtual meeting, or having a meeting in June. Does anyone have strong feelings? It's not uncommon for committees to skip their June meeting. There are pluses and minuses to it. I'm happy to make an executive decision, but I also want to open it up to what other people are thinking, because COVID cases are rising. I understand some people might be a little nervous about meeting in person. So what are other people thinking or feeling or?
Yeah, Judith. So this is my first year here in the community board and in this committee. What have you done, or what has the chair of the youth committee done in like years past, like June meetings?
I mean, we usually have them. This is the first year that we, it would be the first time we have to come in. We've had our June meeting. Usually we take it, when I've been chair, we've taken it as a priority setting for the next year. Making sure that the items we're following up on, the digital divide, the forum, are still priorities that we have, that, discussing speakers and maybe getting a list together if people want them, to kind of try to line them up, and, the Comeback Kid Award. I do want to be sensitive to the fact that not everyone might be comfortable with that. And in full transparency, if it's going to be me sitting alone in a room, then it's not really the best use of it. It's not the best use of a meeting. So maybe
Right,
that's
so
the way to start.
yeah,
Go ahead, please.
given that June is essentially the end of the school year, a lot of youth end up going on vacation, summer programs and whatnot. What has participation been like in June meetings? Has it been more or less the same? Has it been every month and throughout the meetings we have here?
I mean, I will say it's been about the same, but the last two have been virtual. So I think the first meeting, it was, I'll be honest, my first year as chair, the attendance was very low. I think that the virtual meetings have helped. That's why I'm in favor of the hybrid meetings. I think it's important to have the public there and encourage their participation. But the last year it was virtual, so it was just the same. It was just another afternoon or evening where we went through our agenda and wished everyone a happy summer. So I guess, would people be like, what is the likelihood of the public coming to an in-person meeting? Like, are those of you who are on the meeting right now, would you be able to? Do you have concerns?
I have great concerns about, about showing up, and I think it's working the way it is. I would have never guessed that I would be in favor of virtual anything. Certainly these meetings, I've been on the board for a bunch of years, and I didn't even like people calling in. But we're beyond that point now. So I'm strongly in favor of doing whatever we can to keep it virtual. And if it's got to be hybrid, well, that there'll be a location where people can go to who really want to physically be someplace, but that our participants still have the ability to do this in a virtual manner. And I do feel strongly about that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Judy, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in full transparency, if I had any assurances that I would be the only one who has to be there and you guys could all call in, I'd have no problem having a June meeting. But we're just not sure we're going to be set up for it because the committee would have to go in regardless. The hybrid model means the committee goes in. It's only hybrid for if the committee has an extenuating circumstances and the public. So if I knew that would be set up, I have no problem. It's just that I don't know. And I actually don't think it's likely that we'll be set up for a hybrid meeting for June.
Yeah, so my main concern, it's like essentially just to piggyback on what Sergio said, sort of like having the participation. For the past couple of months, I've noticed, not just in the youth committee, but other committees and even in the full board committee meetings that, I feel that participation could be better. And I just think going into, in-person meetings, I think even participation is just going to be even lower than what it is now.
That's my concern as well. Any other thoughts?
I mean, I would just say I agree with what everyone is saying, especially if the board wants to involve more people, more youth, more people from outside of Riverdale. I think the board is very Riverdale dominated. And if I'm not mistaken, the current office is in North Riverdale. And like kids, I mean, I'm a high schooler, like this is when I do homework. And I mean, it would be very difficult for youth, for people who don't live in Riverdale to justify traveling into like the middle of as north as you can get in the Bronx for a community board meeting. And I think that the hybrid option is really valuable, especially if the board wants to keep on incentivizing people to participate that haven't in the past.
No, thank you. That's really important. So again, the board did pass at our last meeting a resolution in support of a hybrid option. So the hybrid option, my understanding is, will be moving forward. I just don't think it will be ready in the next month. So based on the feedback, is there anyone else who would like to share their thoughts or anything? So then based on the feedback, I think what I'm hearing is that we should skip the June meeting and try to get an earlier meeting in September so that we can reconvene and pick the comeback kid, do everything we would have done in June, just try to make it earlier in September. Is that an accurate read of the virtual room?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. All right, so I will let the office know. So we will table the Comeback Kid Award until September. We'll have all of the applicants then. I will try to send the applications around in advance of that meeting so that people can review them and we can have a lively discussion. And we are not bound to only pick one. I think for the Community Service Award, there's like 4 or 5. So we have some flexibility in who we give awards to. So the only other thing I had for new business was, again, the speakers. I don't know, is that still something people would like? Do you want to not make it a formal thing and do it case by case? Do we think it's just going to make the meetings longer and we don't need that? Does anyone not care particularly?
No, I honestly, I think we do need speakers. Yeah, it maybe not every single meeting. But I guess we'll just, gauge on a case-by-case basis what are, the community concerns, and if they're, I guess, subject matter experts in those concerns that we could have present, during that month.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, Julia, this is a new business, or are we just specifically speaking about the speaker right now?
I just wanted to see if anyone had any other thoughts about the speaker, and then we'll move on to other new business.
I think what Stephen says is a good model for it.
Okay. So I won't go super planny and try to get a list of people right now. I think we can revisit in September, especially because the world changed radically very quickly. So we may be coming back to a different environment in September, and we'll revisit it then. Does that feel right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any other new business?
Yeah, Julia. So given that, we're I guess going to be starting a new year come September, where we're off during July and August. I actually wanted to kind of like focus on recruitment and outreach measures to much more younger crowds. I know we've all expressed concerns about going into in-person meetings. However, I think we could maybe use that to our advantage in terms of where we schedule our in-person meetings in the future, potentially in junior high schools or high schools. I'm really not sure what was done in regards to like youth committee meetings in regards to where like the meetings would take place. But I think we should focus some of our attention in increasing participation in our meetings from the public.
Okay, Leona, I see your hand. Just what we used to do is we used to have to ask people to host us. I did try to go around to the community centers and have our meetings there so that their staff and any programs that might still be running could come and even, just join us and watch. We also talked about having like, we have the best intentions, having a youth meeting and having, really reaching out to the community centers and having them come to our meeting in person and doing it very formally by Robert's rules and seconds and everything so that people could see how the community board functions in an effort for transparency. I am definitely in favor of more youth participation. So I am open for ideas about how best to do that. Leona?
So this isn't about youth participation. I mean, I think I'm the only person under the age of 18 on this call, but I was thinking a lot about the specialized high schools. I go to Bronx Science, and I think that the Bronx is severely underrepresented in all of them. And I don't know if that's something the community board would do, like publicizing the resources for how to register for the test, how to prepare for the test, because that's the test is typically in October, and the registration and the preparation to really be successful starts like now. So I don't know if that's something youth would be interested in like trying to take on, especially if there isn't a June meeting, but it's like something that's been on my mind. And in terms of youth participation, I think the real issue is like no one knows what a community board is. And also like the Zoom meetings have been great, but no matter where you go back in person, I don't think that most high schoolers are available to physically be somewhere at 7 p.m. They're either commuting or they're with their friends or they're at home and they're working. Like if you holding it in a school is a good idea, but then like classes end at 3 p.m., extracurriculars end at like 5:30 at the latest, and students wouldn't hang out for 2 hours to go to a community board meeting or for anything really.
very well said. I think so. Maybe there are some options, Madam Chair, that we could do some outreach to several schools, maybe a meeting or two in different parts of the district where something like that would be feasible if we plan it well enough in advance. I know the problem with a lot of us, I'm still at work, so but I think it's urgent, right, to as Leona said, get the word out and have young people on these. Leona, did you apply for a membership to the community board yet?
I did, yeah.
When did you apply?
In March.
Okay, have you heard back?
Not yet. They said late May.
Okay, stay in touch with us. make sure that we find out, because we'll follow up if they didn't. But thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Leona, we could, essentially use you as a resource as well, right? You reach out to your friends and colleagues and let them know, that you participate in community boards and sort of like try to inform them and try to encourage them as well to participate. It may not be CB8, it may be, community board within their district, within their home. But I think that'll definitely help as well.
Yeah, it was a friend of mine who's a high schooler in Manhattan, and he's the person who told me about it, about the existence of community boards.
Part of the problem is we no longer have a civics class in high school, right? Yeah,
There's government in senior year.
yeah, that's an older gentleman who used to be on the community board always talked about, like, there was a civics class that taught you all the local government stuff that, would have included these type of things and what your city council person does and all that, that was out of the curriculum before I went to high school. So it was long ago to stop, but yeah, we have to, I think as a committee, we should really wrap our heads around how to get the word out. Maybe, we could follow up offline with Madam Chair and see how we do that. We have your information, right, Leona?
I emailed the chair at some point a long time ago, but I can say it aloud. I can give you, there's no chat, but my email is just leonatedden@gmail.com.
Okay.
And Leona brought this up a long time ago as well. This gets into some of our social media presence and the platforms that we choose to participate in and the demographic of those platforms, not necessarily being the most popular with a younger demographic. And I know Leona actually volunteered to help set things up, I believe, and I'm not sure if anyone from the office reached out to you. I'll follow up with them again. But I will say the meeting times has been a struggle for me. I work in 20th Street, Manhattan. It takes me an hour and a half to get home. So the earliest I could do is 6:30, and that is still even a little bit too late. But it becomes a catch-22 also, because if we don't have the community board members on it, we can't conduct any business. But if we cater only to them, then we don't have any community participation, and either way, it's not the best meeting we could have. I will continue to tinker with ways to get more out there. I'll also reach out to our education chair to see if she could help us reach out to some of the schools more directly with her contacts to see if we can go really, real old school and just flyers or something in the halls. I don't know if they still do that. It's been a long time.
Flyers, at least in my school.
Okay.
My school is one block outside of the district, and most of our students live in Queens.
Yes.
Yes, you're across the street from the district.
Yeah.
Because the reservoir is the district.
Mm-hmm.
But we will follow up. I'm sending an email now for at least to Madam Chair and to yourself, so at least we could talk. And we'll work out a time. Madam Chair, I'll help in whatever way I can in starting the meeting or whatever else is necessary, if we plan it well enough ahead.
I mean, I don't think 6:30 would be, unless you're meeting in a school somewhere. I mean, usually I'm busy at 6:30. I have track practice, but so it's definitely a struggle. And I think late evenings are very conducive to Zoom, and there's really no good time for in person.
Well, yeah, that's why I was in favor of and voted for the hybrid thing. If I have to drag myself to the board office at 7:30, that's not as big a deal for me if I can have the Zoom platform and everyone else can Zoom in from their homes, and it's a little easier to, even if you have to multitask. to be at a meeting if you don't have to physically go there. And other committees were saying they had a lot of issues with technology. I don't think our committee has had that many issues. Once or twice my microphone stopped working and somebody else was able to pick up and carry on the meeting until I could figure it out. So I'm really hopeful that the hybrid model will be very good for us. And we just need to make a more concentrated effort to get more youth involved. And we can, again, we can revisit whether one of those ways is to go back to traveling to community centers that can host us so that people can be there in person if they're already there and just hanging around another half hour, and have the capabilities to host a Zoom meeting so that others can log in. That's what we're not sure how big a pool that is, but we will find out, and let's try all the things. If things don't work, we can stop doing them, but it's better to try it and find out it doesn't work than assume it won't and miss an opportunity in my book. And for the school and the standardized tests, I will also reach out to the education chair, but if you get any notices that you want to forward on to me, and I'll ask them to be distributed. Again, our social media, not quite the target demographic, but try to, to this committee and to our social media to try to get it a little further out there. I'd be more than happy to do so. Please ignore the
I
background.
can
noise of my-
look just for like materials on how to register for the test, how to do that. I mean, I did that a long time ago. By long, I mean 3 years. But I think it's all out there. The Department of Education works very hard to get it out there. But I think like somewhere it's getting lost in translation.
Okay, so I'll also loop in our board office. They're very resourceful. They may have connections that, like, again, they're just not being filtered to this committee because we're not strictly education, but it affects youth and it affects the youth of the Bronx. So I think it's relevant. Any other new business?
Just that 3 years ago is a long time. It is when you're in high school, Leona. That is true.
Longer than my nephew's whole life.
True. That's true. That's true. Thank you so much, Leona, for your contribution. I'm sending an email now, sending 2 of them now, but it's really important that you contribute, all joking aside. And hopefully that will continue.
Okay, any other new business? Any old business? All right, is there a motion to adjourn in that case?
So moved.
Thank you, as always, so much for spending part of your evening with me and with us. I look forward to seeing you all again in September. Have a great summer. We can, just for the record, we can host an emergency meeting over the summer if something comes up and we feel that it is warranted. If you hear anything, feel free to reach out to me or the office and we can get an emergency meeting together if we have to. But otherwise, enjoy your summer.
Thank you very much. Good evening, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.